Hey, what's up guys? It's Arlen here, and in today's video I would like to talk to you about the present moment, the kingdom of heaven, and how you might be able to kind of access this thing that is talked about in many different religions and many different cultures, and kind of seems like a fairy tale to some secular people out there and some atheists, of which I actually was an atheist at one point. I don't really consider myself an atheist anymore, nor do I consider myself religious. However, I do believe in the kingdom of heaven. The thing is, it's probably not the heaven that you're thinking of. It's definitely not the heaven that you're thinking of, but it could be the heaven that you are experiencing right now. What is the kingdom of heaven? Well, obviously in Christianity and I guess even parts of Judaism and different sects of Christianity, we have this idea of a place that we go to after we die, okay? And that is the kingdom of heaven. And what is in the kingdom of heaven? Well, everyone you've ever known, everyone that you have ever cared about, right? Everyone that you've ever loved, everyone who's ever loved you, all the best food you could imagine, all of the most beautiful sights and sounds and fullness of anything good in this world and in this life are in the kingdom of heaven. It's up in the clouds type thing, and it's this place we go to after we die, right? That's the kingdom of heaven in the traditional sense that most people are familiar with. Now, I awakened to the idea of a different type of heaven that there could be after reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. What I learned in this book is that the kingdom of heaven is actually very likely a metaphor, not for this physical place that we go to when we die, but for the place of heaven that is literally here and now. Like, you're in heaven. You're watching this video. Hi, I'm Arlen, and you're in heaven now. The kingdom of heaven is here now. Okay, I can't point to it. Why? Because as Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven does not come with signs to be perceived. Okay, you can't point to heaven and say, oh, it's here, or it's here. The kingdom of heaven is an experience, okay? And the kingdom of heaven is something that is different moment to moment. You can never pin it down, because the moment you try to pin it down, it's in the past, all right? So the kingdom of heaven is all around us, and it has a lot to do with our state of consciousness. Those of us who have gone through some sort of awakening may be able to relate to this, where everything after you have awakened seems to have this undertone of consciousness and of goodness to it. Even people who are angry, even people who are upset at you and even doing bad things in the world, that they're just going through their own awakening. That everything that seems to be bad is just simply a cover-up for love, for heaven, for heaven's gates. And to open heaven's gates, what we can do, and do more often, is practice calling more attention to this state of consciousness, state of awareness. And so there's many ways we can do this, obviously, but one of the best that I know of is meditation. Simply being aware of our thoughts, being aware of our mind, which is always running around and getting caught up in where. Where does our mind and our thoughts get caught up in? Well, it gets caught up in anxious thoughts, negative thoughts, judgment, right? Fiery judgment, anger, making fun of people, even violence, apathy, self-hatred, right? These are things that we all see in waking consciousness, where we think that hell is not here and now, but when in fact hell could be here and now too. So when we realize that hell and heaven, or if we just entertain the idea that hell and heaven could be here and now, well, then that all has to do with our state of consciousness. Okay, so our consciousness is very directly linked to whether we are in a state of heaven or a state of hell. And so now what I'd like to offer you is a step-by-step process for understanding how to get to the gates of heaven. Okay, and the first thing that I would recommend that you do is to go into your self-reflection mode, okay, and start to think about what is it in the past that I've done that would be, hellbound. Okay, so perhaps self-judgment. right? In the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, he speaks a lot about not judging yourself and not judging others, of course. But one of the things that we do time and time again is judge ourselves. Every time we take a selfie, we take another one because we don't think it looks good. We very subtly judge ourselves. When we are out on the beach filming a video, we may very subtly judge ourselves too. If anyone were to walk around, I might say, oh, and pop into my little shell, right? But we don't have to do that because we don't have to judge ourselves. But what do? We judge ourselves. So how do we undo that? Well, one thing I might recommend is making a list of all these things that you have done negatively, not only toward yourself, but toward other people. And then what I would say to do is to actually take that list of things that you've done and sinned, right? And take that list and forgive yourself and forgive other people and ask for forgiveness, even if it's in a spiritual mind sense. So if you have a list of people that you have done wrong to, you could, and ideally, reach out to them and ask for forgiveness, apologize. But you can also, if you don't have the ability to do that, you can do it in your own thoughts, right? So something I highly recommend doing is experimenting with this thought exercise of going through everything that you have done and sinned, and actually going through and forgiving those around you, and forgiving yourself most importantly. Because if you are hurt, right, hurt people. And what I want you to realize about that is if you can heal yourself, if you can love yourself, if you can treat your body and treat yourself with consciousness like you would treat the things and the people in the kingdom of heaven, then you will find yourself in the kingdom of heaven. It's very cool. And so what I might also recommend that you do is, after you've forgiven yourself, is to examine the amount of fear and anxiety that you go through on a consistent basis, maybe how often you go through this fear and anxiety. And what I might recommend you to do there is actually just relabel it, okay? And this is something that I've actually been doing a lot recently, because I've started to notice that the news is full of fear and anxiety-inducing information. Whether it's true or not, whether you're a conspiracy theorist and believe the crazy conspiracy theories going on or not, whether this stuff is, the numbers are being blown up out of proportion, or whether you think they aren't being represented in as much as they should be, you got to understand that this stuff is probably making you feel terrified and in an anxious state. I mean, how can you not feel anxious every time you cough or sneeze in public, or even you wake up and you feel a little bit hot, right? This stuff is anxiety inducing and can make you live in a mode of fear. So what I might recommend that you do is examine that and simply raise your awareness around the times in your body that you are feeling this mode of anxiety, and just notice what's causing it. Because one of the best ways to allow consciousness to solve that of anxiety, which actually in my recent experience, I've been reflecting on anxiety not as a bad thing, but actually as a sign that we are calling the negative to the surface, and it's actually a good thing. So anytime you may even be going through some sort of anxiety situation or anxiety attack or bad thing, rather than viewing it as something to be avoided, view it as something to be completely embraced. Allow your whole body to feel it. In the moment, it can be terrifying, of course, and I totally understand that. However, taking this enlightened and awakened approach to it and noticing, wow, I'm freaking out right now, but this is not a bad thing. This is not something to run away from. This is simply me calling something to the surface. What is it that I'm running away from? Okay. So after going through forgiveness and going through anxiety and feelings of apathy, what I then might recommend that you do is go into your need for approval. Okay? Think about all of the posts you've ever posted on Instagram, and think about how many of those posts you really wish got a lot more likes than they actually did. Think about how you feel every time you see yourself gain a follower or lose a follower. How does it make you feel? Is your sense of completeness derived from how many people like you? Or Can you find it within you to feel complete without anyone following you or liking you or approving of you or disapproving you? Can you have an unwavering attachment not to ego, but to consciousness? Can you sense that that attachment is never letting go? That you are this awakened consciousness? And one way you can do that to better connect to this consciousness, this enlightenment, this being that is ever eternal and always around you is, as I said at the beginning of this video, meditating and entering that kingdom of heaven. So these are 3 steps that if you take these 3 steps on a consistent basis, remembering to forgive yourself for things that you have done in the past wrongly, remembering to consciously look at anxiety as something that is actually a good thing. Okay, I know it's not going to help the anxiety situation to begin with, but it will, in a sense, help you cope with it in the long term, because you'll recognize that it's actually, oh wait, another anxiety attack. Yes, this means negative is being brought to the surface. And eventually I'm going to be so woke that I just feel like a 7 out of 8 out of 9 out of 10 all the time. And if you're feeling like a 9 out of 10, like right now, I'm at the beach. Sure, it's a little cloudy, but it's beautiful. I'm filming a video, which I love doing, getting into some, public speaking type practice, talking about ideas that fire me up. And yeah, I get to go home later and enjoy a dinner. And I'm very grateful for this entire moment that is here and now. This, to me, is the kingdom of heaven. I'm conscious. I'm hopefully raising your consciousness just by you consuming this content. And that's it. So I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up and drop a comment. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.